John Wick before John Wick. Okay, you have my attention. Film fans of YouTube, hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh, your movie apprentice, and today I'm going to be doing a requested movie review from my good friend Jordan, the CEO of Wicked Wolves. If you have never heard of them, go give them a check. They'll be in the description of their YouTube channel. And he requested that I reviewed one of his favourite films of all time, Man on Fire. A film that I am aware of, I know the title of it, but I didn't know anything about this going into it. And it was pitched to me as John Wick before John Wick, and Denzel Washington was the original John Wick, apparently. So, here I am, finally getting to this. But before I do review this movie, if you do enjoy what I do on this channel, consider clicking that like button, hitting the subscribe button for more content like this coming all the time. And let me know in the comments below, is there any films that you want me to review? Drop them down in the comments below, I'll be more than happy to do so. So Man on Fire is directed by Tony Scott and starring Denzel Washington, Dakota Fanning and Christopher Walken. And this is about Mr. Creasy, who is hired as a bodyguard in Latin America, where kidnappings are prevalent and they happen all the time according to the opening credits sequence. And he grows quite fond of his charge, Lupita, played by a young Dakota Fanning. But about halfway through the film, she gets kidnapped and it turns into a massive rage mission as he believes her to be dead. So, first things first, I do have to say that Dakota Fanning's performance in this is easily one of the best child performances I have seen in a very long time. I'm very surprised that I didn't get into this film sooner. I actually did have a quick look at the Rotten Tomatoes score of this film, and it seems to be one of those where the critics didn't like it, but the audiences loved it. So I was very curious going into it. And the relationship between Creasy and Peter the entire way through is very well done. I really appreciate that this film took its time. It didn't do an introduction, a rushed friendship, followed by a kidnapping. It was a slow build at the start. He wasn't that fond of being a friend. He was just in it for the money, as a job, but they grow close over time. So when the inciting incident does happen about an hour into the movie, we are fully invested in their relationship and we truly buy the absolute monstrous rage path that Creasy does go on. And I will say as well, the ending, how it ends, is probably one of the most powerful things I've ever seen, and it's one of those where I could get annoyed by it, but it's very beautifully executed and it did get me in the feels. It really did. I'm not going to spoil anything about what happens after the kidnapping, but it is truly probably one of my favourite endings I've seen in recent years, and I'm definitely going to be watching it a few more times just to get an overall grasp on the film as a whole. This being said though, I will say, despite it being pitched to me as an original John Wick, aside from the fact he is a man that's very good with a gun and he goes on a rampage for revenge of someone close to him being killed off, he doesn't strike me as a John Wick. With John Wick, it's a assassin that the bad guys realise they've messed up and they accept that they're probably going to die here. The bad guys in this, they just see him as a random bodyguard. They don't think much of him. And he has to go on this rampage, not for any connections. He just happens to stumble across a reporter at the right time. And he's going through each and every one of them, getting different bits of information as he goes along. So the way they craft that element of it, I thought was really interesting as well. How he was able to go from one to the next and getting more information as he goes along. And I will say, they do make this kidnapping a little too convoluted for me. It's established right at the very start that kidnappings happen very regularly in this world, and it really doesn't feel like it needs to be that convoluted, the overall kidnapping. Just know that they have a very good insurance policy, so they'll get a lot of money for the insurance policy, and the child will be kidnapped. That is all you need to do. You don't need to do this in-depth conspiracy theory, because it does feel kind of shoehorned in there, and I can't say I was too fond of it. And the fact that the culprit behind it all is revealed as a certain someone, I didn't buy it as much. It wasn't surprising, I will be honest, because they don't really do much to this character than establish they are a bit spineless. But I really didn't buy that this was a very well thought out plan. And yeah, that's an element that really lets the film down for me. Everyone talks about the rampage he goes on, but for me the strongest element is that relationship built up in the first hour of the movie. The actual rampage, while it is decent to watch, isn't quite hold it to the same standards of that first hour and the final 20 or so minutes. I do really appreciate Denzel Washington's performance in this. When he's being a bit cocky, it does throw me a little bit, but when he's portraying this damaged man who's not taking any pleasure from what he's doing, that I feel is the more strong elements of this performance. However, there are certain bits where he's just dropping one-liners, I'm trying to be cool, and it just felt a little bit out of place with the tone this film was going for. And also the film tries too hard to be stylistic. There are a lot of strobe lighting, flashing effects that at certain bits, completely got, but other bits just kind of felt thrown in there for the sake of throwing things in there. They didn't really need to happen, and that is a stylistic choice that feels very early 2000s, and that has aged the film a little bit for me. But the soundtrack is what really balances it out for me. The soundtrack in this is beautiful. I particularly love all religious theme music, but there is a lot of sounds in this that are really well done, and apparently the soundtrack is one thing people really like about it, so I can completely see why. It very easily carries you through this film. This is a 2.5 hour film. I did not expect it to be that long going into it. When I checked the runtime when I started the film, I was quite surprised. I was thinking, hang on, this is just a rampage story I've been told. How the hell do they make it go for 2.5 hours? So the soundtrack was really exponential in making this feel shorter than what it was. And even though it's 2.5 hours, I never felt the runtime. It did flow very nicely, and I feel like it was a perfect length. It wasn't too short, it wasn't too long. It was just in that right frame, which is very rare for movies these days, so I have to commend Man on Fire for that. Before I do get into my overall grade, again, you enjoy what I do in the channel, consider clicking that like button and subscribe to the channel for more reviews, rankings, wildlife movies, and occasional podcasts coming all the time. Without further ado, let's get into this grading. So Man on Fire, it is definitely an entertaining film. I particularly love the relationship between Creasy and Peter. That is by far the standout for me. That first hour is up here, and unfortunately after the inciting incident, it drops down here for me. It doesn't make it a bad film. I just feel like the action sequences don't feel as good as what the character building moments do in that first hour. So it is very much a film of two halves, but it is very much saved by the ending 20 minutes that are extremely powerful. While part of me does feel like it copped out a little bit, I wasn't entirely frustrated with it because I was happy with where the film went, but it did make the middle portion feel very moot in the long run. Performances, great, particularly by Dakota Fanning and Denzel Washington. The character building is really good, the soundtrack's really good, but the stylistic choices of edits is a bit jarring. So mashing this all together, I know, Jordan, you're probably going to hate me for this, but I'm going to only have to go as high as to say that this film needs a bit more sugar. So, Man on Fire, have you all seen it? If you have, let me know what you thought down in the comments below. And let me know what other films you would like to see me review in the future. And coming up on the channel in the next week, I'm sorry I wasn't able to get the Wildlife Movies episode out this week. I've been quite sidetracked recently. I might have to rethink my schedule when it comes to my podcast and Wildlife Movies episode, because let's be frank, they don't get that many views anyway, so they have unfortunately made me lose a bit of excitement for making those videos. But if you do like those videos, go watch them. They're on my channel, and let me know if you want to see that sort of series continue. But coming up this week, I'm going to be reviewing more Studio Ghibli films. I've taken a week off for them. I'm getting back to it this week. And I am going to be reviewing a street cat named Bob, because sadly the cat did die last week, so I feel I need to revisit that film. But until next time, my name is Josh. I have been your Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey, thank you for watching, and thank you for making it to the end of the video. While you are here, if you haven't done it yet, please feel free to drop a like and consider hitting that subscribe button for more reviews coming all the time. And also, while you are here, there are some other videos over there that you might want to sink your teeth into. Have a good day, guys, and do enjoy.